every goddamn week it's something else with you people. I don't know how I put up with you.
What do you mean, you people?
The squids.
People who are not me.
Squid people.
Yeah, that's just going to be the intro now. Welcome to Select Character Podcast. My name is Chris Anderson, and I'm joined by three people who I consider less as friends and more as returning adversaries on this weekly show I call My Life. I'm joined here by Jamie Van Lint. Hiya.
Hello. Hi.
Regale us with tales of your last week in Mead Space.
Not that intro. I went to a forest, actually. That was nice.
Oh.
Well, you really went all out.
Yeah.
That's like the complete opposite of a computer.
Well, I had Pokemon Go on at the time.
Oh. Wait, you're still playing that?
People still play that over there?
Like, I did up until about last week, and then the last few days. Like, I went out over the weekend, and then didn't even turn it on, because I just thought, fuck it.
Now he just plays Cats Go.
Yeah. I spent like 20 I spent 20 minutes chasing a Vulpix around a forest and then was like, no, fuck this, I'm done.
Yeah, that will be enough for anyone. Nobody wants a fucking Vulpix anyway. It's a stupid Pokemon. Let's not get into this now. I'm going to switch on over to the other side of the globe, to my two American friends. I'm starting off with Samuel Yates. Hiya.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm also very good.
Very good. No further questions, Your Honour. The prosecution rests. And finally, here after a week of absence, because he went to a wedding in North Carolina, if I recall correctly.
Or what's left of it, yes.
Or what's left of it. Enrique Cancel, welcome back to the podcast, mate.
How's it going?
I'm all right, as I just said. What was the wedding like? Was it good?
It was fun. A little chaotic because, like I said, with the Hurricane Matthew hitting, a lot of the stuff didn't go as planned. Like the catering company, the setup people never showed up because they couldn't get to it. So it turned into a very do-it-yourself wedding, but it was still fun.
All right. Cool. At least you had a good time, right? Despite the weather. Like, are you feeling the effects of that storm over there right now? Or is it just not in your general area?
No, it's bright and sunny here, actually.
Oh, very good, very good. Let's hope it stays that way, at least for the duration of this podcast, or else the rescheduling it might actually kill me. Video games. Let's just talk about video games, and I'm going to hijack the first spot on our weekly list of games that we have been playing, not because I dislike the rest of you, but just because I like myself a little more than you right now. I want to talk about Civilization 6. And
Goddamn right.
All right, so let's just start with you then. Civilization 6, what is your take on it?
Dude, I'm loving it. The art style is very different, so I think that was very jarring at first.
Jarring in what way? Like I've been playing it for a while as well, and I love the art style. It's not too cartoony, but it looks like Pixar-ish.
Oh no, I like the art style, but what gets me is, and it's kind of like a design thing where when you change, like the design for Sid Meier's has been pretty consistent for the past few years and the last couple installments, to where it made learning very easy because everything looks the same. Everything's usually in the same location, so it almost kind of like teaches you it's trained you how to learn how to play really very easily. And they made such an abrupt change, not just to the map but to the UI. So I found that it took a little bit longer to kind of find my bearings, as it were. Mm-hmm. But I do like it. I especially like the overworld map because it kind of reminds me of playing like a real life Risk. It's got a more like a board game appeal to it. Yeah,
well, it's always been a very grand board game, right? But yeah, now it actually looks like one. I love how the map fills itself in as you discover it, and when you move out of a certain area, out of the line of sight, it turns into just a normal like cloth map.
Yeah, I love the fact that they got rid of the fog of war, and then it's literally just a map now. Like, it looks like a very generic cartographer's map, and then as you discover areas, it starts kind of fading away and revealing what's actually there.
Yeah, it looks extremely good. What do you think of the unstacking of the cities, which is one of the biggest draws that Firaxis said the game would have?
I like it because there's a couple things that I really like that they changed. That whole the tile thing being really important now is a great change because it makes you kind of think more strategically about your cities. Because before, I felt like you got to a point where you kind of ran out of things to build, so you were literally just stacking every single building you could, in every city you had.
Yeah.
But now because of the whole district system and how there's certain things that can't go, adjacent to each other, or it limits if you put like I think an encampment immediately limits the kind of buildings and districts that you can build next to it. Like you can't have any kind of horse trading or anything nearby. If you build like a natural wonder, or if you build like a holy site, it has to be near what's not natural wonder. There's so many things that are dictated by the actual terrain and shape of the map that I think it makes it a lot more versatile, and it makes it feel like each city is unique. So it's more like you can actually emphasize different construction projects on each city.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that as well. Like you can make cities way more specialized than you could before, and certain tile improvements and districts will be cheaper for you if you build them on a tile that supports what the district is for. So, for instance, if you're right next to water, it's cheaper to build a harbor. It's cheaper to build naval units and stuff, which I really like. It makes you think about where you want to place cities. So instead of just plopping them all down nilly-willy, you really have to find a proper spot to put your city in.
I mean, I can kind of see why it'd be cheaper to build a harbor on water than it would if you build it on a mountain. So
yeah, that wasn't the best example to use, but you know what I mean, right?
But I know what you mean, and and I like that because, like you said, it feels like you can really each city's unique depending on the geography. So I mean, I actually picked the Nordics to start off with, and I think my main city started off immediately next to a mountain range. So that city, it's actually ironically enough away from the water, so I can't have any harbors or anything in it, but I have that whole mountain area like lined with an observatory. It actually has like the mines and everything set up. Then a trading route that goes down to the coastal city, which that one is farming fish, pearls. It has like the lighthouse. It has a whole. I think that one has like a college and like a whole laboratory district because it gets the bonus from the research from the water areas. Mm-hmm. It's really cool. And each tile, like you said, it has its own separate improvements that. The only downside, I think, it makes it for a little bit more of a steeper learning curve because you really need to plan out what you're going to do. Because I've noticed that unless you really have the foresight of knowing what can go where, it's very easy to kind of screw yourself over a little bit down the line if you kind of, develop all the tiles near your city, and then it turns out that down the line there's a district you want to build, and it turns out you don't have room for it anymore.
Yeah. I found out that I understand very little of Civilization 6 after about 100 turns playing as, I think it was France for a bit, and I quickly sort of gathered why I was having trouble. The standard game speed is way too quickly. Like new mechanics get introduced to you every 4 or 5 turns, and you don't really have time to get to know those mechanics and know how to apply them before you have to move on to a different one entirely. So I ended up turning down the game speed to marathon, which is a 200% decrease in game speed. So everything takes a really fucking long time. But I'm finally sort of wrapping my head around the new mechanics, and now that I understand them a bit better, I really, really like what they've done with a lot of the mechanics. They went in and they changed a lot of things that were iconic of Civilization as a franchise, and just flip the script on its head. And the end result is a game that is way more enjoyable in a lot more ways than the previous installments in the series were.
Yeah, the best way that I can actually sum it up is that previous, like Civ installments, they always feel like they're fun games, but it feels like they're missing something, and they don't really come complete until the expansions and DLC release. Mm-hmm. Whereas this one, out the gate, it already feels as good as, like, let's say Civ 5 felt after Gods and Kings had released.
Well, yeah, that's because all the stuff you got in the 2 expansions for 5 is already in the base game. It feels like a complete product because of that, because you're not really losing anything you gained in 5.
I mean, yeah, that is true. So it doesn't feel like a step back. But just in general, I mean, just a feel for it. It doesn't feel like there's anything missing so far. Mm-hmm. It has enough depth and enough mechanics, between the new policy system for the new government. There's a legacy system for your government. So as you advance in different ages, you can actually import some of the previous philosophies your government had. You had like the whole religion system included off the bat. Yeah. The concept of the holy sites, and then your not faith. What's it called this time around?
It's called faith.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, it feels like a complete title, and I'm having a blast with it. And like I said, I really like the aesthetic. It is a little bit more cartoony, but I think it makes it more vibrant, so it literally feels like you're playing on a Risk board.
Mm-hmm. One sec. Anyway, I'll edit that out and post it.
Got audience from the peanut gallery there.
What do you think of global happiness? Because every city now has its own happiness meter instead of your entire empire having like global happiness.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that because I'm still trying to figure out the whole concept of like the city states and the envoys to keep their happiness up.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure how that ties into the overall like world happiness and how you can affect that.
It's amenities. Like you don't have world happiness anymore. You only have happiness on a citywide scale. So it varies from city to city. So you have to appease every city you have. And you usually do that by getting amenities, stuff like luxury resources. Once you connect them to a specific city, the happiness in that city will increase, or at least that's what I gathered from it.
See, but I like that setup though because it ties back to what we were saying. How about because of the tile system and the terrain playing such an important role in your city development and planning?
Yeah,
you have cities that end up being vastly different from each other. So it kind of encourages you to kind of build those trade routes now.
Yeah. I do love that trading is back. It's the exact same system as the one in 5, but I don't know, it's just, I really loved making trade-centric civilizations when I played 5, and I love that I can just do that again with 6, although there's no Venice in the base game, so there's no one city-state civilization that you can play. But maybe they'll add that at one point rather sooner than later.
Maybe. I have noticed, though, I think my only complaint is that the AI is still as wonky as ever. So you'll have, like, a random country be your ally for about 100 turns, and then they'll just flip on a dime and attack you for no reason.
Yeah. Apparently, the AI is very trigger-happy in the first 200 to 300 turns of the game, and it sort of mellows out after that. But I don't really see improved AI in 6. I just see AI that's more likely to get really angry at you for a variety of bullshit reasons.
I know, it's weird. Like, I think they added enough systems between the trading and diplomacy and like the policy systems that you can kind of maneuver that a bit and forestall when they'll get trigger happy. But it's like I said, I had a really nice alliance going between like Norway and the Japanese, but we were great for a couple of centuries, and then they just randomly decided that I had been exploring the map a little bit too much, and that they were going to declare war on my heathen ways.
Yeah, fuck that. I mean, stuff like that happens a bit too much. I actually got into a war with Teddy Roosevelt and the American Civ, which was...
I should have known better.
Carry a big stick, yada, yada, yada. But I was friends with the American Civ for about 100 terms, and we liked each other. We weren't really close to each other, so we didn't have any contested borders or stuff like that. But then I had the audacity to change my government policy around to something that apparently was different from what he had. And
man, you're like describing the history of this podcast to a T.
Sorry?
You're describing the history of the podcast to a T.
Oh, that's actually, yeah, I can see that. But yeah, he decided to declare war on me just for having a different policy than he did, and that just doesn't feel right.
Well, that's the way Uncle Sam does it, sir.
It's very realistic in that way. Speaking of realistic, I think the character models for the leaders are uncanny. Like it's uncanny valley because the skin looks really, really realistic and lifelike, and the lighting is very lifelike, but the proportions are off. I love the way it looks, but it looks.
It's like you said. It's like a Pixar movie where like they spend a great amount of detail, or like effort into the details, like the hair, the skin texture, the lighting. Mm-hmm. But it's still like that overall cartoony look to them. Mm-hmm. But I think it works really well.
Oh yeah, I would agree. It has the best beard tech in a game since The Witcher 3. So
that is true. There's no real time beard growing, but I mean, we can't all be that perfect.
Steam Workshop support is not in the game yet, so give it a while. Because, Firexes have said that they are going to release modding tools that allow people to do way more with the game in terms of mods than they could with the 5th game. So let's just hope we get a procedurally generated beard mod for Teddy Roosevelt, because, he'd look good in a beard. Anything else you want to say on Civilization 6?
No, just that. Like, I'm enjoying it, but like I said, they're just... And again, I think for me, that just ties back to like the whole UI change that because of the design of the game is so different that I felt like it was very jarring to the learning process, and I feel like I'm having to relearn an entirely new game now. But I mean, it's just a matter of time.
And try it again, because that did it for me.
I'll have to restart. Like I already restarted kind of like 2 or 3 times, just trying to get like a feel for it. Where one playthrough, I was kind of trying to understand the new culture system now. Mm-hmm. Then the other playthrough started doing religion, and this playthrough I'm kind of messing around with the actual like policy system. So once you kind of get a feel for those, I feel I'll have to start over again and go from there.
Maybe we'll have to record some gameplay and throw that up on the channel.
Sounds good.
Okay. That was it for me, really. I just played Civ for the past... Well, when did it come out? I think it was Friday, right?
Friday.
Yeah. Basically, all I've been doing this weekend is just play Civ all day, every day. So that's all I did. And I was on holiday for the rest of the week. So let's slide on over to Sam Yates.
Hi, what's up?
Hi.
I
Have you
actually
played
have
games?
one quick question. When you say game speed, can you elaborate on what that changes?
Yeah, it changes the rate at which you can develop new technologies, and it also changes the rate at which the AI themselves can kind of advance. So, like, what would normally take you 10 turns will instead take like 200 turns.
That sounds cool. Okay.
Yeah, I've never played on that game speed before, on the marathon level, but I don't think I want to play on any other mode now, because it just works better. You can take your time to do stuff. You can get to learn the policies and technologies you have currently, instead of worrying about them becoming obsolete within 20 turns. So I definitely think that you should give that a go if you decide to get the game, which you should, because it's a very good 4X game.
I thought
it's kind of nice, though, because with marathon speed, it makes it so you play a little bit more conservatively, because you cannot just kind of churn out your troops like you can in the other one, where, every 8 turns I can have a new unit. This time, like I said, every 100 turns you can have a new upgraded unit, so you kind of are more careful about where you set your troops up.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've never really liked Civilization games, but...
You might like this one,
give it a
actually.
go.
Like I said, it feels more like a Settlers of Catan than an actual Civ game.
I was watching... Normally my main problem has been like a lack of tension, and also that it's very slow. Like it feels like a turtle racing game.
Yeah, it is slow, but it's a 4X game and a grand strategy game. Those games are always quite slow.
Yeah, but the stream I was watching, this guy was getting attacked on like the 5th or the 6th turn by like a bunch of stuff, and he was like, "Welp," So like I was watching that, and I was like, "Okay, well maybe there's a little more tension going on now. Maybe it's more dangerous than it used to be." I don't know.
Yeah, if you turn up the difficulty, it will at one point become unfair, because the AI will get a ton of stuff that's hard to acquire in the start of the game, and they'll just fuck you up within 100 turns.
Scary.
Yep. Plus, I think the tension, you can develop it as much as you want, though, depending on your playstyle, because it's like, it's like playing real life Risk or Catan, where, you can have an alliance with somebody and then get your open borders and set your troops up and then immediately turn around and, backstab them.
Yeah, pretty much.
I guess I could try it.
One thing we've got to mention is that every AI leader has a hidden agenda and a certain policy that they'll always adhere to. So, for instance, Teddy Roosevelt dislikes people who start wars on their own continent and will attack anyone who starts a war on their continent. They like peace, essentially. It's the old American chestnut. They say they want peace, but the moment somebody's fighting, they want to join in. So that translates to the game quite well.
Are those the same every time?
Yeah, although you can do random AI, I believe. It wasn't in the previous game, so I think it's in this one as well.
Sounds neat. Maybe I will. Maybe this is the one.
Give it a go. Well, until you do that, tell us something that you've played over the week.
Let's see. This week I got into like a weird thing where I went onto the Roguelikes Discord server, which is a cool place to be because all the developers are on there.
Oh,
it's a very weird thing to have such a small community where somebody says something about the game and the developer's actually there to be like, "Hey, I made that and this is why you're wrong," or something like that. So I was hanging out there and I got linked to a stream to watch Jim Shepard actually do development on Dungeon Mans. And I was like, I remember playing that game a long time ago. I think I'll watch this stream. And I was actually watching somebody write code for like 2.5 hours. It was
Riveting.
It shouldn't be, but for some reason it absolutely was riveting. And I learned something about game development that I thought was interesting, in that it's not so much that it's like alchemy as much as it is that it just takes a very long time. Because I watched him, it took like 2 hours to put a creature into the game, but none of the steps seemed tremendously complicated. And that was an interesting, different way to look at it, because whenever I thought about game development, I thought of it as something that was like hyper complicated and beyond the realm of being able to figure it out. But I was watching
Depends on
him.
the game, though.
Yeah, I guess it does depend on the game, but I was watching him do it, and it was like just not so much that the pieces were extremely complex. It was just like each piece takes a long time to put into motion. Just like a perception shift for me. So anyway, I saw that and I was like, you know what? I should go back and play that game. There's a Halloween update coming out Monday for it, and that's what he was actually working on and coding. But
it was pretty cool to sort of just witness him doing that live.
it is, and it's to actually watch somebody develop and they put the thing in the world and it does something. He was making a guy that throws an axe, and then the guy threw the axe, and somebody in the chat channel was like, how about turning the rotation speed up? And he was like, yeah, I could try that. He turned the rotation speed up, and everybody was like, yeah, that feels much better. That was
a direct line with a developer. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, and it's also very unique to that small community. Like real time feedback as somebody was coding a game, it just kind of blew my mind in a weird way, and made
I can see how that would be surprising.
Yeah, made it pretty interesting. So I started playing Dungeon Mans. I went back in there and played that some more this week, and got a really few good runs going in. It's still a really good starter kind of roguelike game. The action is very fluid. Even though it's turn-based, there's some statistics that drain in real time, even though it's turn-based. So it's got like this motion to it that you don't see in a lot of turn-based games, and it's hilarious on top of that. It is very funny. I don't remember... I talked about it a very long time ago, but you have an academy that you can upgrade as time goes on. So it is a roguelike, but with progression, so every life makes the next person a little bit stronger.
Oh, like what was the other game called? Rogue something.
Rogue Legacy, yeah.
That's the one. Yeah. Is it similar to that?
The progression is similar, but the actual gameplay is not at all. The actual gameplay is very much turn-based, walk around with the numpad, bump into people to kill them, but the powers are very active, and it's very, like, not static. Whatever the opposite of static is, fluid or fast, or it's actually got momentum to it, which is very interesting to be able to pull that out of a turn-based game, because of just the variety of powers and everything. And it's still very funny. Like I sent you that picture of the Tiger, which is 3 progressively smaller tigers stacked on top of each other.
Yes, I remember that. That was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, the game's got a sense of humor just for miles and miles. And if you try to go into a dungeon but you're too strong, they're like, hey, do you just want all the loot out of here instead? And you're like, yeah, and then all of it just shoots out of the castle, and you just pick it all up. They're like, this probably isn't worth your time. Do you just want all the stuff?
Right.
You're like, yeah, of course I do. But like, just the game is genuinely actually very funny, and that's something I've rarely seen, like something I would actually laugh out loud at.
It's a game with heart.
It's got heart for days, absolutely. But that was a lot of this week, for me.
All right. Let's just go to the last option available to us, Jamie Van Lint.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, this week I've been playing a game called Helldivers. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that.
Yeah,
man.
That's the twin stick shooter.
Yeah, I've been playing that all week. That game is just amazing. Like, I downloaded it a while ago, and played the hell out of it. And then, I don't know, I just kind of forgot about it for some reason till I was going through my download list the other day and saw it there.
Hold on.
Downloaded it again.
Why have you not been playing Rayman? You've got a lot to answer for, boy.
What? Well, actually, I went on Rayman the other day, and I sat there for about an hour, just like jumping into the challenges painting again and again and again, only for it to bring up like a little loading window and tell me that the Ubisoft servers were currently unavailable.
Could that be because of the massive downage in the US yesterday?
Oh yeah, that's right.
I don't know. All I could think was, this is it. They've shut down the Rayman servers. I'm done.
Your worst fear has come true. You will never be able to platinum Rayman.
I almost checked out then and there, but no, I got back on it a couple of days later. So I'm like way behind. Like whatever my original schedule for that game being finished was, add like a month on that now.
Well, we were all rooting for you, but now you've just sort of given up. You can just fuck off. It's terrible.
No, I haven't given up. No, come on. I'm going to do it. I haven't given up, I promise.
Yeah, that's what I always say about doing the washing up. And then a week later, there's more washing up. Still haven't done it. So.
Does Helldivers have crossplay?
Not sure.
I don't think it does.
I don't think so. I think it's limited to like the console you got it on.
My perception of that game that I remember was that it was very good, but to do the like really hard stuff, you need a focused core crew instead of just randos.
Yeah, you absolutely do.
I can see that.
You need 4 people who are like on the exact same wavelength who know what they're doing.
Yeah, that game's really punishing from what I remember.
After taking a good few months off of the game and then like logging back into it and thinking, I've played this game before, I can do this shit, going on to like some level 8 missions and then just embarrassing myself and dying every 5 seconds while my entire team assumably screamed at me over microphone. I had it muted because I was too scared of what they were saying. But yeah, that game's great. So that's so much personality in that game. And I love the whole idea of like the community working together to like achieve the end goal.
Right.
Tell me more about that. What's that about?
Well, essentially, like you go on and there's 3 main races. There's like a bug race, a robot race, and I don't actually remember what the other ones are.
I think it was like a weird energy, like Protoss style race. Yeah,
and they've got their own 3 separate sections with different galaxies full of different planets, and each galaxy with the planets in will unlock one at a time, and you go in and do missions on each planet. So you'll land on a planet and you'll get a series of missions, which will be to like capture an objective, to go to a certain place and hold it for a certain amount of time. There's like a mine thing where you have to go around with a metal detector and find the mines. There's a couple of other different ones as well. And you essentially just complete all of those, get to the extraction point, and go up. And the better you do as a team, and the less deaths you've got, the more kills you've got, and the faster you do it, you get more points. And those points go into a big team pool with everyone playing the game, and fills up a progress bar to defeating that galaxy or defeating that race.
Wait, what? That's
so
awesome.
Essentially, yeah, there's like a big war going on, essentially, and you're all just players in this war trying to contribute to the overall goal. And every time you log on, it will bring up like a log of what's happened throughout the days that you've been off. So it will say day 1 of the war, this many players played and we took over this planet, and then day 2 we took over this planet, or day 3 we lost whatever. And then when you achieve the end goal at the end, like everyone,
which is usually where the ending is, yes.
Everyone has like part of that responsibility, which is really cool.
Yeah, like I forget what happens when like you max it out. Does it just like reset?
Yeah, it all just resets. You get the credits and a little cutscene telling you did good, and then you get the credits, and that's it. It all starts again.
Yeah, I remember really liking that game because the aesthetic was a lot of fun because it had like this whole Starship Troopers vibe, where like all that propaganda and you're like the last hope for the universe, so like fight for your planet and all that.
Yeah, you come from a planet called Super Earth.
That's what it was.
And these guys are running around, and as they're just literally just going around with machine guns and bazookas and big robots and tanks, just blowing the fuck out of everything.
It's a terrifying window into a future led by Trump.
As long as it's called Super Earth, I'm behind it.
Yep. I mean, did you get the Dancing Queen achievement?
Yes, I did. Of course I did.
Wait, what do you need to do to get that?
You have a big cape in the game, and if you spin the right analog stick, your cape like spins with you, and you just spin 20 times
so
for an achievement.
So this is obviously a thing that players are doing constantly whenever they're not fighting, correct?
I mean,
exactly.
Enough to have an achievement for it, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then.
Yeah, it's pretty much all about... I started playing Shadow of Mordor as well.
Oh, that game's so good.
Yeah, how are you liking that one?
From a gameplay perspective, I like it a lot. From a story perspective...
That's terrible. I mean, Tolkien is spinning in his grave so quickly it can power a small town for a year. I mean, you have to see that game's story as just fanfic. That's all it is.
But here's the thing. I don't like Lord of the Rings. So playing like this weird, terrible fan fiction Lord of the Rings is just... Oh my god, it's so... There's just so much going on as well. Like, my main thing when I started playing this game that I noticed was it will give you a tutorial on every minor little thing, like use the left analog stick to move your character, use the right analog stick to move the camera, and all of that basic video game
Press
shit.
X to
but then
kiss
at the
your
same
wife.
time, oh god, that happened. You have to sneak up on your wife and kiss her. That was a bit weird.
I thought that
And at
was
the
like
same
an
time-
organic way of showing the stealth mechanic tutorial.
Yeah, I enjoyed that as well. I mean, it set up the relationship between the main character and his wife, which is killed before his eyes in 10 minutes. So that's really bad.
Oh, well, that opening sequence, you jump between, I think I counted 6 different timelines in the space of about 5 minutes. And it just doesn't explain any of it. There's just so much stuff going on that the game just expects you to get on board with. Like, oh yeah, so you're this guy who's banished from death. You have this weird two-faced ghost man living inside you.
Oh, that's
who can,
right, the
like,
ghost man.
occasionally take over your body and help you to, like, survive long falls and to help you do sneak attacks and stuff. And it's just all this crap just suddenly thrown at you and it expects you just to accept it.
Well, to be fair, that is the prologue to the first book as well, and that is the entire intro of the movies as well. It's just 5 minutes of random cuts to different timelines.
Yeah, fuck Lord of the Rings.
Well, you know, you're entitled to your opinion, and you are, of course, allowed to be wrong. But
The gameplay's great though. Like, I can't complain about the gameplay at all.
yeah,
It's a lot of fun, and the whole what the captain system?
yeah, the
Nemesis
Nemesis
system.
system.
Nemesis. That's genius.
Yeah, it's so.
When I
it's
think
so
of the
cool, but
Nemesis
it's
system,
no
I
other
just
game.
think of Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, like the Nemesis system is great because it gives you these great emerging gameplay moments, right? But it's not been adopted by the gaming industry as a whole, and we all sort of thought that was going to happen because of how big of a success that game was.
But I think it's a thing of, like, if you do take that system and put it into your game, it's so obviously just a blatant rip-off.
Who gives a flying fuck?
Yeah, but I mean, you know, every other game is pretty much ripped off Batman, you know, Arkham City's combat system, and it hasn't been really like a bad thing.
No, I mean,
I guess it gets a bit tiresome, though.
bugger off.
I mean, I can see like when, I can see it, but I don't know, I feel like the Nemesis system, it's got a good enough base where you can improve on that a lot. I mean, like I would love to see that in like a Mafia game, for example.
Christ, yes, that would be.
I think it would be. I was talking to someone the other day. I said it would be great in a Pokemon game. Like if you get defeated by a trainer and then they suddenly become like a gym leader, and then you get beaten by him again and they become like a higher gym leader or something. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of it was more of how it tied into the world. Like the pyramid was cool, but the way that you would run into those guys at random in the world, and like those really cool voice lines and how they maintain their injuries over time and stuff.
Yeah, that was cool. Like you could like set somebody on fire, then like they'd show up a couple of hours later, and then you know half their face would be burned off, or they'd have like a replacement, like you know, blade arm.
Yeah, I absolutely loved that.
I did like that system how you could, but which is weird because you don't unlock it until like probably towards the end of the game, but you could have like your sleeper agent where you can, I guess, do like a possession on them and then kill their opposition so they can slowly rise up the ranks, and then you can kind of set them off. Because I remember doing that with some of the minions, like some of the harder to kill bosses. Because after a while, I mean, like they can become pretty much immune to death. Because every time they beat you, they get like a new immunity, whatever. But you can make it so you can, I think, mind control to the orcs, and then eventually kill your way up their hierarchy to the point where those two orcs are made that, you know, the head boss's like warband, and then you can just have them as like backup. So when you finally do attack them,
You just raise your hand in the air and blow their heads up.
yeah, that was pretty.
Or
cool.
you could do that, yeah. That's a really, really good game, though. I hope we're getting a second one in that franchise because I want those mechanics and I just want more of that Nemesis system.
I want to know what happens in the story next.
Oh, it's all bullshit. I mean, I can tell you right now if you like.
In the
Yes,
second game?
Oh, the second? Nah, this.
I don't think you can really go into a second game, can you?
No, or you'd have to go back in time.
Like a prequel, like a pre-prequel.
Yeah, I guess.
Your
But there has
Legolas's
to be
dad.
some narrative justification for why you've got the Wraith form. I don't know how that works. Like they completely broke the original story set in the books, so anything can happen really. Just give me more Nemesis stuff. That's good. Anything else, Jimmy?
No, that's it. Just those two.
All right, then we shall move on to the news. And there's two big stories, and they're both elephants in the room, so let's just get into it. The first one is the announcement of the Nintendo NX, which turns out to not be called the NX, it's called the Switch. And it's a mixture between a portable gaming device and a home console, which you can sort of click into a docking station next to your TV and play it on the big screen, or you can take it with you as just a portable thing. Now, I saw the trailer and I read some stuff on that, and I want to be excited, but for some reason I don't really feel excited.
I am cautiously optimistic, but I'm trying to level set expectations because I don't want to buy into the hype train and be disappointed. But
well, you're going to get it anyway because there's going to be a Monster Hunter game coming out for that, and then you'll be one of the first people to get the Switch.
I mean, like I'm going to get it regardless of Monster because I like Nintendo games, dude. Like Nintendo games are always fun regardless. So I'm going to get the new system because right off the bat, I want to play the new Zelda game, like a new Mario game will inevitably come out, probably Donkey Kong or something like that. So they have always enjoyable games regardless.
Right.
But like I said, I'm just trying to level set expectations. Like for example, the whole idea of is the bulk of the processing power contained entirely within that little like handheld device, or does that docking station actually have like its own components that when you plug it up, it'll stream to the TV at a better quality, or what?
I think I read that the dock doesn't have much in it, and that everything is inside the tablet. I think I read that somewhere.
See, and if that's the case, that kind of worries me because that means that dock is literally just almost like an over fancy, HDMI cable.
Yeah, it's like a pass through.
Yeah,
and in that case, I mean, that means that
safely call it a gimmick and not be far off the mark here.
Yeah, but I mean, that means that the bulk of the processing power is going to be on the tablet itself. So then it makes you wonder, like, how much processing power can you put into that tablet for the games?
I'm not convinced that they're going to pull off what they say that they're going to pull off, because if the leaks are to be believed, it's going to be a machine that is between the $250 and $300 range, right?
Right, and if that's the case, that means that they got to be cutting somewhere. Because
yes, and it's probably going to be build quality, and it's probably going to be something like the screen.
See, and it sucks because they announced all these some of the partners they're going to be working with, and it's a couple like the big name publishers again, which is great because it means we'll be getting games for them. But then it makes me think of the Wii, and then realizing that, it had support from like Activision and a couple of the big name companies, but when a game came out on like the PlayStation and Xbox, and then it came out on the Wii, you knew which one was like the shitty version.
Yeah, and one more thing that I thought was funny is that they showed Skyrim at several points during the trailer, right? Turns out neither Nintendo nor Bethesda has confirmed that Skyrim is going to come to the Switch. They've actually both come out and said, like, we're not announcing anything specific right now. Like, what? Why show Skyrim working on the device then if you're not really planning on... What?
I feel like there's more to it than that. I don't think... Like, they have to have a legal department. I really don't think the legal department would be okay with them just showing a title that's never going to be available on their system. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of licensing that they're doing with either trying to get the Legendary Edition ported or something over that they just can't confirm.
It's not the Legendary Edition, and you know it.
That's neither here nor there. Like, that's an argument for another time. But I'm saying, like, there's probably a reason that they're like we're taking that out of context. There's people that are just looking for it to fail or looking for reasons to want to make fun of Nintendo, and they're just jumping on whatever they can. And I think what it really is just that, for the sake of legality, they cannot announce it yet for whatever reason.
Then don't show it. If you don't want people to misconstrue you, don't show stuff that can be misconstrued by the general public.
I mean, who says it's a misconstrued? I mean, as far as we know, it's definitely coming. They just can't say it is yet. It's perfectly,
maybe they're just doing one of those stupid things where they don't want to cut into the sales. They don't want people to wait to buy it on the Switch, so they don't want to like technically say. But you're right. Then why show it? But I don't know. Maybe that happened. Maybe they made that video before and then they were like, "Oh crap! Wait, we want to make sure we still sell a bunch of them, right?" So it might come, it might not. Maybe it's just one of those things, like just a weird backpedal situation.
Yeah, it could be. Like, maybe Skyrim won't be available until like 4 or 5 months after the Switch launches, so they don't want to be like, we'll wait till
that's
then.
not going to piss people off at all. I mean, people still complain that Knack hasn't been a free game on PlayStation Plus, and that's been promised for about 3 years now. So
why would you want Knack?
That's because Knack is shitty.
Nobody fucking knows, mate. I mean,
people want what they can't have.
Be thankful that you haven't got Knack.
Knack is a great tech demo.
Is it?
I mean, it's a good tech demo. It shows like the particle effects, but that's about it.
Right, yeah.
I think that the biggest advantage that the Switch has is if it comes out and it's a unified platform. Like if it kills the DS and it kills the Wii U, and all there is this one thing, then I think that's a great direction for them going forward because they won't have to split development anymore.
No, that's true. You can have that.
Definitely.
I think they're going back to
that
cartridge
that
gaming
is what's
too.
going to happen.
That is the part that I'm most excited about, I guess, is because the games will just be the games. And there's an excellent library on the Wii U, although it is a little small. And there's an excellent library on the DS, but you need two systems to get access to both of those libraries. But what if it was just one thing? And I think that focus could be a huge selling point. The graphics don't matter. Battery life probably matters. But
that's what I'm worried about,
That's
battery
another
life.
concern. Yeah, I've had as well. Like, how are they going to be... How good is the battery going to be?
I don't think battery life matters that much. People use iPhones, so they can't be that concerned with battery life.
well, you need to
right?
get a day out of it. That's the
Yeah.
thing. You
Yeah.
want to get a solid day's use, and most cell phones can meet that. You don't need to carry a charger around with you, but you do need to charge it once a day. But the DS has great battery life, and the Wii U gamepad not so much.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if they can match the DS battery life, I mean, I'll be happy with that then.
Oh,
Because I mean, you start thinking about like how many systems are at play with that, because it's not just like the tablet. It's the tablet. It's the fact that you can disconnect the controllers and use them as almost like two dongles, like the Wii. It's the fact that you can connect those two controllers and make one whole controller with it as well. And there's like a lot of power that's going to be drawn away from the system itself. So I'm kind of worried about how long that's actually going to be able to last.
Yeah, and if you've got a 720 screen in your 720p screen in your handheld that is going to play games at an HD resolution, 3D games at an HD resolution, you sort of need a battery that can sustain that for at least 5 or 6 hours. And I'm not sure if that is something that they'll be able to do.
I don't know.
This is just conjecture, obviously. I don't really know this for sure. I am cautiously optimistic about the device, but I want to know more about the device's capabilities, and I prefer if that info would come from someone who's not affiliated with Nintendo, just a regular guy who has played with the thing.
Now, do you think they're going to allow third-party development for those attachable remotes?
What,
Because
like
you know
from Mad
that's just
Cats
going
or
to either
something?
break or get lost.
Oh, they've created an industry overnight with the announcement. Of course, there's going to be third-party stuff for that device coming.
You got to be able to ping those things from the console, or they messed up. Because I'm
Yeah.
going to lose the right one almost instantly.
That's what I was saying, man. Like, those things are not going to last.
Also, it looks like a good solution. I have a weird thing with playing with my hands too far apart. So I like that you can actually clip them together. That's good.
That's an oddly specific dislike.
It is an oddly specific dislike, but I like that they attach to each other. Like the Wii U gamepad, hands are too far apart.
That is true.
Maybe
It's
you
weird.
can buy specialized gloves you can click the controllers into, so you'll never lose them. If you find the gloves, you find the controller.
The click is good though. The click of the pad into
That,
the
it's just
console.
very, very satisfying at an audible level.
Yeah, and the controllers onto the sides of the things. You need a good click, and it seems like that click's pretty good. You have to feel it in real life to really know how satisfying that click is, though.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm trying to taper my enthusiasm with realistic expectations.
Oh yeah, you know what happens when you get hyped? You get stuff like No Man's Sky. So don't get hyped at all.
Yep, set the bar real low, so that way if you miss the mark, you won't notice it.
Yeah, just don't really promise anything. Just say it's a game, and then just release it, and then it has all this extra stuff that people didn't expect. Just do that.
I think they
Basically,
can do
be
it.
like that guy who makes Five Nights at Freddy's, who doesn't really announce his games anymore. He just releases them. Any closing statements on the Switch?
No. I think they can do it, but there's pitfalls, and we don't know anything about the pitfalls yet, like whether
Yeah.
they've solved them or not. So
No. All right. Then the second story is the official announcement of Red Dead Redemption 2, which is enough for some people to get mad at Rockstar for two reasons. One, there's no extra alliteration in the name, which pissed people off for some fucking reason, and no PC port has been announced, but that is par for the course for Rockstar. It will come 2 years after. You know it's coming to the PC anyway, because GTA Online is making mad bank on PC as well, and
Not
they
just
registered.
that, man. But they just announced a partnership with Sony, so we're going to get this on both consoles now.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I own a device that can play it, and I will definitely play it because Rockstar games are always fun at the very least.
Yeah.
What do you think of the setting though? Because they named it Red Dead Redemption 2, which would imply that it takes place in the same continuity or has something to do with the characters from the original Red Dead Redemption as well, or else you wouldn't call it 2. I guess you call it something different. Do you think that they got the voice actor for John Marston back?
Maybe from the look of it, because I think the silhouette showed 7 characters on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think people are kind of hinting that it might be a prequel to John Marston and his days when he was back in the gang.
I'd be cool with that because that was a cool character, and the events preceding Red Dead Redemption 1, there was a lot of stuff there that I wanted to see for myself, and if it turns out to be a prequel, then yeah, great fun.
I don't know, man. I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older, but prequels tend to not do it for me anymore.
You should judge that on a case-by-case basis, really.
Yeah, I try to, but it's just, as a whole, there's always that thing in the back of my mind of, I know how the story ends, so the journey's, kind of tainted.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it depends.
That stopped the conversation dead in its tracks.
Well, no, I mean, like I said, it's just... Because I've seen some people kind of criticizing for it, saying that, they don't necessarily want to go back and see the prequel. They want to experience an entirely new area.
Well, it's not up to them, is it?
I mean...
I don't care. Can I still shoot people on the face and have a buffalo mount?
Yes.
Then I'm in.
That is true. I forgot about that. I forget you get the buffalo mount. Yeah.
Oh, God, I forgot about that as well.
It was the best part.
Yeah, the online was crazy.
It's been a long time since I played that game. Yeah, they registered Red Dead Redemption Online, or Red Dead Online as well, so we'll probably get a full-fledged online component.
That'll be fun.
I
mean, the first one, I think for what it was, the first online version of it was actually decent for what it was.
It was poker and shootouts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good enough. I mean, those two things are things you'd expect in a cowboy game, so cool. Why not? I'm looking forward to it, though.
Yeah, the first one was great. I'll play it. Why not? I really hope it comes to PC, though. That would be super good.
Better.
It will.
I hope it has another Undead Nightmare. That was fun.
Great, yeah.
Undead Nightmare 2.
Undead
Boogaloo. Right. Before we go, there is one last thing that we need to talk about, and that is a letter, or an email, rather. A letter sounds so old-fashioned. An email from somebody who listens. So I'll just read it to you. It's lengthy, but stick with me. It'll be good.
I'm bored.
I have a question for you all, if you find it worthwhile to answer on the show this week. My question is, do you think you should limit your gaming time? For example, limiting yourself to gaming after 9 p.m. only for a maximum of 2 hours per day? If yes, why, and what are your limits? If no, why not? This is something I've been asking myself lately. Living by myself with no children, I could put a ridiculous amount of time gaming each week if I wanted to. There have been weeks where I've done just that. Eat, sleep, work out, some socializing, and 100% of my solo hobby time spent on gaming. Fuck me. Are you me? Because that is literally what I do. In your own life, do you find that 100% hobby time equals gaming to be ideal, or is that something you think you should put limits on? Personally, I'm starting to think about setting limits on myself. As an experiment, I told myself no gaming at all yesterday or today, and forcing that limit upon myself, it has opened me up to partake in activities I don't normally do. Watching a movie yesterday, hitting the gym 2 days in a row, etc. Also, I didn't have my typical feeling of wanting to get home from work ASAP today to maximize my gaming time. Some might say that their interest in other hobbies prevents them from needing to set limits on their gaming, but I love gaming so much that if I let myself, I often do it to the exclusion of other hobbies that I enjoy and are potentially more fulfilling, healthy, long-term beneficial things. What about you guys? Well, As somebody who also lives alone, has no children, has a lot of spare time due to what I do for a living, which is music and write about video games, I have a lot of time to play games, which means I play an awful lot of games. And personally, I don't see a reason why I should limit the time I spent with games as long as I can still do all the other things I need to do. You know, be social, work out, stuff like that. As long as I can do that, as long as I can function properly as a productive human being, then I don't see a problem with it. But that's me.
Yeah, I think an issue I have with like the whole concept of limiting it and putting it on a schedule is it can get very close to a point where you're almost like forsaking everything else for that schedule. Like if you say, hey, I'm only going to play 2 hours of video games tonight, like you almost, sink everything you can to those 2 hours, and you run to that issue where you're pretty much just trying to max out your 2 hours worth. Yeah,
so you're not really having fun. You're not really enjoying the experience. You're just trying to experience as much as possible in as little time as possible.
Yeah, it kind of become a chore. Like, I do agree though that we do need to have some kind of conscious effort in how much we play video games, especially as you get older and you have family, pets, like other responsibilities. You don't want to be
responsibilities.
Right. You don't want to be the person that's like literally like coming home from work. And it's like, okay, I'm just gonna like lock myself upstairs in the room and not say anything until I eventually die of dehydration. But I think
one way to go.
Yeah, just have to have like an awareness of it. I mean, like make sure you have time, like relax, see your family, spend time with your pets. But if you enjoy gaming, I mean, there's no reason you can't just veg out once in a while.
Yeah, right. I mean, we've been doing that with Civilization 6 for the past couple of days, haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, you still have to work. I still have to be at other places. As long as you can still do that, just behave normally, just exist normally, I guess. You're golden.
Don't be one of those guys who dies of starvation in front of World of Warcraft, covered in their own piss and shit.
But that's Korea mostly, isn't it?
Not always.
You should always think about how you're thinking, though, right? And you should always watch out for anything that benefits from you consuming its primary function. So video games are dangerous in that way. But you got to look at it kind of objectively. You do something
productive without actually doing something, right? That's why they're so addictive.
Yeah, like, I mean, if I asked my refrigerator what it wanted, it would say everything should be colder, right? And video games say, why aren't you playing me more? And so you should always have an answer to that question, and you should think about what you're doing. Yeah, the toaster would say, make this browner. I mean, like, the video games are like that in the way that they want eyeballs glued to them. And so you have to look at it like, actually, for me, it's, do I want to play a video game, or do I just want to play video games? Very generalized, broad concept term.
You'd have to be more specific here. What do you mean exactly? Because I'm not sure I follow.
I mean, do I want to play, is there something, I want to play this right now. I want to play Overwatch. Or do I just want to play video games? Do I just need that type of brain engagement and I don't care what I'm playing and I'm not even sure what I should play? I just know that I want to be sitting here playing a video game.
Right.
That's the dangerous part. Like, that's the part where you're consuming time that you could maybe be using on something else because you're engaging with it in an unfocused way. And the games are designed to keep you there. Like, do I want the Junkenstein skin from Overwatch? But I stopped having fun after an hour and a half. The last 2 hours are me just trying to get this stupid skin. And those last 2 hours are like something that the game is keeping me there. The game is benefiting from me consuming its primary function, right? Mm-hmm. And they are created to continue on with engagement. So, maybe that doesn't entirely make sense, but it's just like a cautionary sort of thing. You need to always be thinking about what you're thinking. What are you doing? What are you getting out of this? Because they will destroy you if you let them.
No, I think you're onto something, though. I think that it's important to kind of make that distinction when, you have the desire, like, oh man, I really feel like playing Civ, and it's perfectly okay for you to come home and like, you know what? I feel like playing Civ, or I feel like playing Overwatch. Let me do that. And I think that's perfectly fine. But when you get to that point where, you come home from a long day of work, or you kind of, just sitting at home with like a little bit of downtime, and you think, I kind of want to play some video games, and you don't really have like a goal in mind. I think during that scenario, you should probably take a step back and think, you know what, maybe I'm just bored and I want something to take up my time, and my mind just happens to drift to video games because it's the most easily accessible thing.
And it's still fine to say yes in that situation. It's just like yes should not be your default response without considering the other options.
Like, yeah, at that point, I think it's perfectly fine to kind of like make a mental note, stop yourself. You know what? I'm bored. I want to play video games, but let me see if I can find something else to do that might hold my attention too.
And watch your ratio between creation and consumption, because that's a bad thing too, just in general.
That's just sound advice for life in general, really. Jamie, you've got anything to add?
No, I don't really tend to limit myself, but like I tend to spread my time between like a bunch of hobbies evenly. So it's not that I just sit down and game out all the time. Like I watch plenty of wrestling and I watch movies and Netflix and stuff.
Which is an entirely different pitfall.
Well, hey Jamie, like going along with that though, so how does that work in terms of like distributing the time? Do you just like tell you like have that limit where you say, you know what, I'm only going to play a little bit of video games before the certain show starts, or do the interest in those hobbies automatically kind of override each other when the time comes?
It kind of just depends like how I feel at that specific time. Like sometimes I'm just like, I can't be bothered to like focus on a video game right now and be involved in it. I just want to sit down and watch entertainment. Or if I just want to go out somewhere or something, or like if we go to a lot of wrestling shows, me and my friends, like so if I'm going out a lot of the time to those shows, then the gaming isn't really an option, so that will just by default take priority.
Right. Yeah, so what we can take away from this, I guess, is gaming as much as you want is absolutely fine as long as it's a conscious choice that you actually want to play a game, and it shouldn't come at the expense of all the other threads in your life that you need to keep tabs on. So, game to your heart's content, but make sure that while you're gaming, you're actually playing it for the right reasons, which is to have fun. If you're not having fun, maybe time to do something else. Would that be agreeable?
I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, so
yeah.
That brings us to the end of this episode of the Select Characters podcast. Let's just do something that we don't normally do. Let's just drag in Twitter, our own personal Twitter feeds into this. If you want to follow either of us talking about whatever the hell we want to talk about that day, you can follow me at echo_grid. Jamie, you've got Twitter?
I don't remember my Twitter handle.
It's probably at Big J Bizzle or something like that. Because
it's at
Oh man,
it's at big.
Wow.
It's at big_J_Bizzle.
Oh, there you go.
You guys should follow that. I see a very interesting picture of Chris.
What?
What?
I'm not even going to ask. Enrique, you've got Twitter as well.
Yeah, it's at EdgeTroll, which coincidentally enough is my BattleNet name.
But people don't know the number behind the battle.
It's okay, neither do I.
I know mine. It's 1696.
Well, there you go. If you want to play a game with either of us, add Sam and he'll play with you, because he, for some reason, even though he has a kid and he has got a normal education and stuff that he needs to attend to, he still finds time to play games all the fucking time. So
that's because he lost his kid in the board game room.
She's good. She's going to whip me one day.
I'm not even going to ask if Sam has social media, because he doesn't.
No, I have no social media presence. If you want to talk to me, I'm in the Discord, though.
Which is the only social media thing he does.
Yeah, does that count?
Yeah, I think it does.
Yes, it's media, which is social. There you go. Anyway, thank you so much for listening in. If you're listening to this on iTunes or any other servers that happens to allow you to rate, give us a rating. Doesn't matter how high it is, although if you give us 5 stars, we would like that infinitely better. Whatever you choose, please tell us why you gave us the score that you gave us, so we can, sort of gather your feedback and make the podcast better as a result of it. My name is Chris Anderson for Select Characters. I was joined this week by Jamie Van Lind, Enrique Cancel, and Samuel Yates. And we will see you next week. See you next week. See you next week. See you next week. See you next